I don't have a flag, so we'll skip the flag salute and we'll move on to B2, which is the approval of our minutes from August 25th, 2020. So if can I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions about the minutes or corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did Michelle say yes?
Yeah, she gave a thumbs up.
And moving on to B3, the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Are there any questions about the consent agenda?
No.
Welcome, Rogelio.
Rogelio, sir.
May I have a vote, please? All those in favor?
That's the roll call.
Roll call, I'm sorry.
Let's start with Rogelio.
Aye.
Sally.
Aye.
Andy.
Aye.
Michelle.
Aye.
And I am aye.
Moving on to D, the superintendent's report. Diana?
Thank you, Sally. I'd like to begin with appreciation, and I'd like to recognize our CUSD's IT manager, Erin LaPlante, and IT staff, John McClure. We'd like to recognize them for their outstanding work in supporting the entire district's online platform, as well as supporting all the staff using all of our technology. Erin and John, they respond daily to technology issues, and they work tirelessly to resolve all the many problems that we have with connectivity and our devices during remote learning. So we really appreciate Erin and John. The next item is the elementary waiver. On August 21st, Dr. Amzorg, who's our health officer of Santa Barbara County Public Health, he announced that Santa Barbara County would accept waivers for the elementary schools to reopen in-person learning. The waiver application includes components of our district adopted reopening plan that was adopted on August 11th, as well as consultation with labor and parent organizations and all the staff testing plan, which is required of COVID-19 testing every 2 months. We'll discuss the waiver application to open in the hybrid model for elementary schools on October 1st and secure board approval at the September 15th board meeting. The next item is our school lunch program. Throughout the spring COVID-19 crisis, the USDA granted school waivers to serve lunch to all children up to the age of 18 in the community through the Seamless Summer Option Program. For all districts, that waiver expired on August 31st. So we began the school year under the traditional National School Lunch Program, which required applications from families to qualify for the free or reduced meals, and for those who did not qualify to pay for lunch. Drive-up grab-and-go meals were served at the high school, the middle school, Aliso, Canalino, Monte Vista Park, and delivered to People's Self-Help for distribution. During the first 2 weeks of school, an average of 350 meals were served. At the last day of August, the USDA extended the waiver to operate again the seamless summer option through December 31st, 2020. So once again, we now can offer lunch to all students up to the age of 18. And meal distribution is on Mondays and Thursdays from 12 to 1 at Aliso, Canalino, Monte Vista Park, 1 to 2 at CMS, and 12 to 2 at the high school. The next item is our after-school program. Senate Bill 98 waived the program requirements, permitting any student to participate in academic support during the regular school day. The expanded learning program will provide open Zoom meetings Monday through Friday, 1 to 2:30 for any elementary student to receive individualized academic support. Between 2:45 and 4:45, engaging interactive enrichment activities will also be available through this program. The next item is for online tutoring for our high school students. We have purchased a chat-based tutoring service. It's called Paper, P-A-P-E-R. It provides online tutoring 24/7 for high school students in all subjects, delivered by live educators in both English and Spanish. The next item is our back to school nights, which are principals and teachers will hold through Zoom. So please refer to Parent Square for your Zoom link to participate in back to school nights. At Aliso School, they're September 3rd through September 16th. At Summerlin School, it's September 10th and September 15th and 16th. At Canalino and the Carp Family Schools, it was last week. Carpinteria High School is Wednesday, September 16th, and it will be all day, in which you can log on to a video. And the middle school is also the same format, logging on to a video on Thursday, September 24th. And the next item is our Carpa Cabana. And we are so proud that the Carpinteria Education Foundation will honor our very own Sally Green. Congratulations, Sally. Yay!
Thank you.
Good.
For
Thank you.
25 years of service to the Carpinteria schools at the 28th annual Carpa Cabana benefit that's this Saturday, September 12th. Each year, Carpa Cabana celebrates a Carpinterian whose positive impact on education is felt community-wide. And no one deserves it better than Sally. Due to COVID-19, however, this year's festivities will be a little different. First of all, we are delivering the party to your door, so no masks are required. You get to decide how big the celebration will be. Here's how it works. You do not dress up, you do not hire a babysitter, but you do make a donation and enjoy the evening of September 12th. So to learn more about Carpa Cabana or to contribute to furthering educational opportunities for Carpinteria children, visit www.carpcares.org. Additionally, Westerly Orchids donated 100% of their retail shop purchases between August 31st and September 5th to the Carpinteria Education Foundation to fund internet access for CUSD families based on need. We're very appreciative. Thank you all. And the last item is Measure U. Modernizations of the old CHS administration building, which will house the new CHS Student Success Center, is over 80% complete. It's anticipated that the project will be completed in October. Modernization for the high school gym began July 1 and is now 24% complete. Modernization of the high school gym in the old building will continue into the school year. As a result, interim housing has been provided to the administration staff, and temporary locker rooms have also been created for PE and sports programs. The Measure U team has submitted the revised Summerlin preliminary concept review to the County Architectural Board of Review and anticipates a second meeting and final meeting on September 18th. The project will then be submitted to the Planning Commission, which is the entity that approves the coastal development permit. In addition, architects are designing the detailed plans in preparation for submission to the Division of State Architects. The Measure U team will be providing an update to the board at the next meeting on September 22nd. Thank you.
How about a couple of questions, Diana?
Sure.
Yes, okay. Do you expect any problems with the Planning Commission?
No, they don't at this time.
So, all right. So it's okay then. No problem. Anticipation. Nothing at all.
No, they're fulfilled all the requirements, so they're not anticipating there'll be problems.
Okay. Back to the first page on the school lunch program. Okay. Last school year, there was a huge deficit, and on the lunch, it's called, I think it was called the DEV lunch program. So what are the expectations for any deficits this year?
Well, we currently have a $600,000 deficit, but the learning loss mitigation funds, the additional funds are supporting that. So that's why the state identified the extra funds to school districts from the CARES Act to support the cost of the lunch programs.
Now, if there's a deficit this current year, this current school year, then are we covered by that as well?
The learning loss mitigation funds will cover it, but if it continues, once we're back at school.
Is it okay? It's been 1 year. Let's say that it happens again this school year that there is a.
It is happening.
Okay, so the loss mitigation fund would take care of it again?
Is taking care of it currently, yes.
Is there a limit to it? Like, for example, what if on 2022 it happens again?
Well, in
And again.
2022, there probably won't be a learning loss mitigation fund because hopefully we'll all be back in school and we will have a vaccination and we won't be in a pandemic. So I can't predict 2022. What I know right now is that because of the pandemic and the school closures, we've had a significant deficit in the lunch program because we don't have the number of students participating, which brings in the funds. So currently there's a $600,000 deficit. However, the state identified that every school district has a deficit. That's why they are providing additional funds from CARES Act to support that deficit. And when we talk about the budget at the later in this meeting, Maureen will point to you exactly where the fund source is to support that deficit.
Yes, all right, okay, thank you, Diane.
Sure, thanks. Thank you, Sally.
All right, moving on to D2, which is public comments. And I just again like to remind our speakers that you have a limit of 3 minutes, and please be respectful with your words and in your comments. So Monica?
Yeah, I was muted, I'm sorry. Yes, we have the first person. I don't see him connected, so I'm not sure if he's here.
He's not here.
Mr. Justin Rowe. So if he is not here, we're just gonna jump to the second person, which is Jamie Dimon. And she actually has seated minutes from Chrissy Clemens and Pam Werner. So she has a total of 9 minutes today on this item.
Hi, Jamie.
Hey, everybody. All right. Good evening, school board members, Superintendent Rigby, and everybody at home. My name is Jamie Dimon, and I am a parent here in the district, as well as president at Parents for Carpinteria Middle School. I'm here to speak about the inequities currently in our special ed students that they and their families are facing. I've spoken with numerous families recently, some of which have reached out directly to the district and some who do not feel comfortable doing so for various reasons. The bottom line is our SPED students are not getting their services as needed. IEPs from last year are still unsigned, triennials have not been conducted or finished, accommodations are not happening in their entirety. There is a glaring difference between the supply bags general ed students are getting and those which SPED students receive. Special ed students are falling further and further behind exponentially as each day goes by. An aide Zooming to supervise a student while the parent hovers over the student to keep them on the Zoom with the aide instead of doing the actual schoolwork, that's a problem. There are teachers who are unable to navigate basic technology, Zoom, Google Classrooms, and others from the SPED department. We are all tired, but these parents have reached exhaustion, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I am aware, per the state direction, that new IEPs are not required for distance learning and that pre-existing IEPs are to be honored and followed. But there are IEPs that were created on the eve of the COVID lockdown and only needed a signature to be enforced. These IEPs take into consideration where the student was partway through last year, which means where they are now is even further from the last evaluation and accommodations that were requested in March or April and still have not happened. Many of these students are not able to sit through a Zoom in the manner which is expected of them. There are tears, there are meltdowns, and there are just a few that close up the laptop and walk away. It's frustrating and unproductive for them and their families. Independent study is also not being supported properly. Students are being given one subject at a time. If they were to go back to school in a hybrid model, they would be so far behind in all the other subjects, they would be unable to rejoin their class. How will the students reintegrate into their class? And how will they switch between independent study and hybrid classes each time the school closes due to a COVID case or exposure? I absolutely acknowledge that we are in harrowing times and everything is exponentially more difficult to get done. but we cannot fail our SPED students. I believe enough time has passed since the initial lockdown and shock that we should be able to pick back up at the same level of service for these vulnerable students. Here are my suggestions. After listening to the state superintendent's Zoom on Wednesday, one thing that was made clear is the ability for schools to use the small cohort guidelines for their most vulnerable students from ages 0 all the way to 18. Yes, this includes middle and high school. The context of this was brought up specifically for special education students. I believe this is the most immediate and effective way to properly and most honorably serve these families. Many of the students need one-to-one support, and this would allow that to happen. Here's the direction given from HHS and CDPH for small cohort guidelines. Purpose: to provide guidance for necessary in-person child supervision and limited instruction, targeted support services and facilitation of distance learning in small group environments for a specified subset of children and youth, and for those programs to understand the required health and safety practices needed to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in their settings. A cohort is defined as a stable group of no more than 14 children or youth and no more than 2 supervising adults, or a configuration of no more than 16 individuals total in the cohort. In a supervised environment, which supervising adults and children stay together for all activities, meals, recreation, etc., and avoid contact with people outside of their group in the setting. So this total of 16 individuals would allow for 8 students and 8 aides to be together in a room and actually sit through a class. The following statement is pulled from the Office of Administrative Hearings case summary and not my words. On August 24th of this year, the Office of Administrative Hearings issued an order granting a motion for stay put. According to the order, the parties agreed that the distance learning plan offered and made available to students during the school closure did not constitute a free, appropriate public education. On March 13th, Governor Newsom issued an executive order which directed CDE and Health and Human Services Agency to develop guidance to ensure that students with disabilities continue to receive a FAPE consistent with their IEPs. Furthermore, on April 9th, the CDE issued special education guidance for COVID-19. Specifically, the guidance provided as follows. In some exceptional situations, LEAs may need to provide certain supports and services to individual students' mental, physical health, and safety for the purpose of supporting the students accessing the alternative options for learning being offered, for example, distance learning. In summary, OAH recommends that LEAs review their existing distance learning plans and determine which students are having difficulty accessing distance learning. This may include students who have intensive needs, including but not limited to those who are medically fragile, have significant behaviors, and or mod severe students who are unable to access their distance learning. For those students, consider whether the distance learning plan is comparable to the last agreed upon and implemented IEP. This is a lot. It's like getting a fire hose to the face, and I'm sure you were not expecting it tonight, so I apologize. It's all happening in real time, and these conversations I've had just happened this week. I'm bringing this to your attention because it needs to be acted upon immediately. I'm going to use a SPED parent's words in my closing. And actually, she asked to be named. So this is from Caroline Alarcon. Hi, Jamie. It has been really rocky. Fortunately, it is getting better. I was disappointed by the lack of planning and the decision to not include parents considering it is a collaboration when it comes to remote learning. I am a strong advocate for Sebastian, but I know that not all parents with kids that have special needs feel that they can or should speak up. And that's the consensus I heard from multiple families, is that they didn't feel comfortable speaking up and they didn't know where they stand in this since they haven't had much communication from their case managers. So I'm just asking that as a board, I'm bringing it to your attention because it's probably something, I mean, it's happening right now. So it's something that you probably don't even realize exists. So it's not a blast of you guys in any way. But this needs to be brought to the table and it needs to be considered and action needs to be taken sooner rather than later for our most vulnerable students here in the SPED program. So with that, I thank you for your time and listening.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to E, board policies. E1, The board is asked to approve the second reading of BP and AR 4030, non-discrimination in employment. The governing board is determined to provide a safe, positive environment where all district employees are assured of full and equal employment access and opportunities, protection from harassment and intimidation, and freedom from any fear of reprisal or retribution for asserting their employment rights in accordance with law. For purposes of this policy, employees include job applicants, interns, volunteers, and persons who contracted with the district to provide services as applicable. May I have a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
A
Second.
second? Are there any questions about this policy?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. And E2, the board is asked to approve the second reading of AR 4031, complaints concerning discrimination in employment. Complaints of sexual harassment shall be investigated and resolved in accordance with Administrative Regulation 141.1243.19.124319.12, Title 9, Sexual Harassment Complaint Procedures. If the alleged conduct meets the definition of sexual harassment under 34 CFR 106.3. May I have a motion to approve this regulation?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions about this regulation?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And E3, Board Bylaw 9323, Meeting Conduct. The board is asked to approve the second reading of BB 9323, Meeting Conduct. All governing board meetings shall begin on time and shall be guided by an agenda prepared in accordance with the board bylaws and posted and distributed in accordance with the Ralph M. Brown Act, open meeting requirements, and other applicable laws. The board president shall conduct meetings in accordance with board bylaws and procedures that enable the board to efficiently consider issues and carry out the will of the majority. May I have a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion on this board bylaw?
Yes. On the attachment, on the CSBA sample bylaw, first page, it says that regular board meetings shall be adjourned at 10:30 p.m. Unless extended to a specific time determined by a majority of the board. The meeting shall be extended not more than once and subsequently may be adjourned to a later date. That's something that's there in case that that members of the public didn't read it. And then let's go to the second page, number 3. Without taking action, board members or district staff members may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by the public about items not appearing on the agenda. Additionally, on their own initiative, on any of the board's own initiative, or in response to questions posed by the public, board members or staff members may ask a question for clarification, make a brief announcement, or make a brief report on their own activities. Furthermore, the board or a board member, that means one, may provide a reference to staff or other resources for factual information. Ask staff to report back to the board at the subsequent meeting concerning any matter. And now let's, okay, this is, now let's go to the following page. This is something that new, or probably I heard this once since 2016. So we all know that each member of the public has 3 minutes for speaking. In order to ensure that non-English speakers receive the same opportunity to directly address the board, any member of the public who utilizes a translator shall be provided at least, and I repeat, shall be provided at least twice the allotted time to address the board, unless simultaneous translation equipment is used to allow the board to hear the translated public testimony simultaneously, something that we do not have. And let me see what else. And next page, recorded by the public. Any member of the public can record our board meetings. And this is the CSBA bylaws. And then all of this is followed by the Carpinteria USD current bylaw, which 90% is the same. So that I just wanted to make this clear that that we all follow these, but according to last meeting, it's not like this. For example, we'll all mention that no one should be allowed to speak, let's say, more than 3 minutes, or that 9 minutes was just too much. And this was back to that workshop that I talked about. I think it was in January of last year, and it was in reference, public record. It's there. But I even have the tape, public record. That you mentioned this because Andy mentioned it, because Jay Hashner actually takes more than 3 minutes, 6, 9, and that shouldn't happen. And I was there at that meeting, public record. So that's not following this. So that's one thing. And it's for that, like for example, I'll be later on. I'll be speaking some Spanish, and you know why? Because there's a difference between a translator, which I just mentioned. That's when, let's say, someone has a comment in Spanish, but he doesn't speak or she doesn't speak English. So that's when Monica translates whatever the speaker is talking about. So that's at least 6 minutes. It says it is the law, all right? But so whenever 98% of the time, I'll be talking in English, but from now on, I'll be talking in Spanish, because actually let's say 65% of Carpinteria is Hispanic, and they should have the right to be represented on their language. And I mean, for a couple of years, I have been asked for simultaneous interpreter, no action. No action at all. Jamie personally had it. And I appreciate that. And that's what we need, because right now some people could be wondering what's happening right now. I don't understand that. So that's something that I wanted to point this out. And also you're talking about good conduct. I remember one time this year, like 5 months ago or so, I told you, Sally, I want to tell you, it was probably public record, that I have been interrupted by Andy Schaefer during my speaking time. And what did you say? You answer, thank you, Rogelio. I'll make sure that it doesn't happen again. But what happened? Nothing happened. Everything keeps the same. I think even you, Sally, now you're the last 2 minutes, you keep interrupting me when it's my speaking time. So that I mean, let's call it like that. I mean, it's not fair. It's not, at least to me, it's not fair. So so this is, you're following this just on paper, but on reality, you're not. That's my comment on the board bylaws.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I believe we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of board bylaw 9323?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Nay.
Moving on to,
No, Sally?
yes,
We do have a public comment on this item.
okay,
It's Jamie Diamond.
Oh, you're
requested
right.
to speak
I'm
on
sorry.
this item. Yeah.
yes. Go ahead, Jamie.
Hi, everybody, again. So at the last board meeting during the first reading, an option was brought up to limit public speaking time in cases where there is a large volume of the public represented wanting to talk. And I can tell you, as someone who has had to deal with public comments at the Senate level and at the federal level, when they reduce your time to 30 seconds or a minute, it is not enough to adequately get your point across. To say your name, your affiliation, and yes or no does not put across the sentiment or the feeling behind whatever the issue is. I believe, especially at our level of school board, where we're at, our small community, we really need to allow all of our constituents to be heard for their full 3 minutes, or if time has been ceded to them, their 6 or 9 minutes maximum that they're allowed. And I think it's really important to honor that. I think it's a slippery slope if we start cutting back people's ability to share their concerns. It's always nice to ask that, and I think it's, you know, something that's a general knowledge for people that do public testimony. If there is a large group of people and you can consolidate, that is the courteous thing to do, but that's not always possible. And I just would really like to urge you not to consider moving forward with that you would keep the times as they are and not look to minimize public speaking time. It's not very often that here we have that happen, where there's, you know, 10, 20, 30 people speaking. I was on a Senate hearing where there was literally 300 people that called in because they limited us so much that we felt like we needed to have more people come to voice their opposition to the issue. So by allowing people the time they need, you're giving them that time, and you actually may make it easier on yourselves in the long run by not multiplying those 30-second, 1 minute increments. So that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Moving on to G, business and operations and facilities. G1 is the warrants. The board is asked to approve the warrants for the period of August 21st through September 3rd in the amount of $682 $600,082 and $452.80. Where the warrants are issued once a week on Thursdays, the report format shows check number, check date, payee, brief account description, and payment comments and check amount. May I have a motion to approve the warrants?
Move to
Move to
approve.
approve. Second.
Any questions?
Yes. First page. We have it's a small amount, but legal services measure you $203.91. This is legal. So my question is, what happened?
Measure you needed attorney services.
For what? What was the reason for?
It's for the Summerlin project. And they needed legal counsel for an issue with the county on the Summerlin project.
Okay. Now, again, this is the fourth time that I'm gonna talk about this. All right, first page. And the way I'm gonna ask again is because I see some inconsistencies on this. Page, same, first page. Month and a half ago or so, I talked to you. Well, Ernest guys, it looks like he's getting paid weekly, but he's paid bi-weekly, making $95 an hour, and he's on the clock, correct? He's on the clock. He's on the clock.
Who are you talking about? I'm sorry, Rogelio. Who are you referring to?
Oh, and Ernest Gaius.
Okay, so
Okay, he's on the
let
clock.
me explain. Last year, you and the board members approved his contract.
Yes, yeah,
Right,
I did approve.
of a total amount.
Yes, yes.
Right,
Yes.
and so you take that total amount, you divide it by every 2 weeks. So that's 26 weeks. He gets 26 payments, and that is the payment that he receives off of the contract. So you approved his contract, so you're approving these payments. You already approved his contract.
Yes, correct. But because, okay, $95 per hour, understand that. And so for a long time, yes, bi-weekly, I mean, $7,600, fine. But I have like three agendas on my drawer, and the last three agenda, and that's different from the last three agendas, where it shows, for example, like on this agenda, okay, he was paid $7,600 on August 27, 2020. Okay. Then a week later, September the 3rd, in the skies, 7,600 again. So that's weekly, not bi-weekly. And this has been happening. I have a warrant. I can show you probably 6-8 warrants.
Rogelio, at the top,
Exactly the same. So I mean, so my question is this: per year, how much is he making? 296,000.
on the
How much
top,
is he making?
on the top left of that warrant page on page 1, it gives you the date range for the warrant run, and it is a 2-week period. It is from August 21st through September 3rd. That's a 2-week period.
No, August 27.
21 on page 1, August 21 through September 3rd.
I say I read 8/27,
That's a
2000.
1. That's a 1.
That's a what?
It's a 21.
Well, it says here 27, 8/27. And then
Are you saying, are you looking where it says checks dated 8/21 through 9/3?
correct, 8/27 on the first page, dated August 27, one payment of, and it's a different check. It's a different
Okay,
check.
but that's a 2-week run.
No, it's not.
Check number, not the check number, Rogelio.
I know, but then the follow, I'm talking about 8/27, 2020, 7,600, and then 9/3/2020 again, and that is 7,600. So that's something that that has been happening. So that's lately.
Well, you can feel free to
So
come
that's
in.
a question that I am asking. Is he making 296,000 per year, or half of that?
The timing of the check depends on when the invoice is received. It'd probably be helpful if you came in and actually inspected the invoices if you're concerned he's being overpaid.
Yeah, yes, I will, but I have.
That
That's
would be a
why
good idea.
it got my attention, because there's so many agendas. Yeah, the last 3 agendas, and I have some more on my drawer. Exactly the same, different check. So
Yeah,
that's why.
so both the county office, Santa Barbara County Education Office also manages, audits our contracts for payments. So they won't let us double pay. But I would encourage you to come in and you could actually look through the invoices.
Yeah, sure, but you see, that is why it's been like a month and a half since it's been.
Well, that would be helpful.
no,
We
on
would
this.
probably have some answers to your questions.
Okay, so for page 2, box, the second item, the box zone, what is that? Moving boxes, charged for 444.
Yes, so we needed moving boxes to, for the classroom modernization for Aliso and the high school. The teachers pack up their materials and move their materials, so then the contractors can modernize their classrooms, and then the materials are moved back in.
And how about on same page, the iPower Resell Inc. The graphics class total for $144 and $207.
Yes, the high school graphics lab, they need Mac desktops in order for them to do their Adobe and their specialized programs. So
And this item was already, this was board approved at a previous meeting.
yes, the board approved it. Yes, they approved it at the end of August board meeting.
Okay, all right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Warrants for these 2 weeks.
What was that?
I'm calling for the vote on the
Oh,
warrants, and all those in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, did Rogelio vote?
oh, no, nay.
Rahul, can I strongly suggest that you go in and meet with Maureen and go over the warrants with her prior to the meetings?
Well,
I think
this, I
that would
think,
help.
well, this speaks for itself.
Certainly does.
This speaks for itself. And I go by this.
Well, I know, but Maureen put it together. If you'd like to go in and speak to her prior to the meeting, that would probably be very helpful.
I might. Thank
Yes,
you.
and understand that most of these items have prior board approval to make the payments through purchase orders or contracts. And the warrants have already been sent and issued. So this is all after the fact.
Okay, I'm moving on to G2, gifts and donations. The board is asked to accept the donation from Yardi of $35,000 to the Carpinteria Education Foundation, Carpinteria School District for educational technology needs. Can I have a motion on this?
Move to approve with gratitude. Thank you very much.
Second?
Somebody second?
Yes, second.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear. Are there any questions? Yes, agreed with gratitude. May I have did you?
I have a question on this.
Pardon? Yes?
I have a question on this. I was wondering about how much was donated last school year in cash wise to the district. Is there is there an amount?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Me neither.
What was the
okay.
question? I'm sorry.
The question was this. Do you have any idea of how much money was donated to the district last school year?
Oh, total amount of donations?
The total amount of donations.
Not off the top of my head, but we can certainly get that number for you.
Okay,
Our
thank you.
community is very generous.
Very generous.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
very.
that's what I've been noticed. For example, this year looks to be pretty good because we have been
Yes.
getting
Mhm.
huge donations. Thank you.
We're very
All those in favor of this, of G2?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on to G3. This is the learning continuity and attendance plan for 2020-2021. The board is required by state law to hold a public hearing on proposed learning continuity and attendance plan. I am going to open this hearing at, it's about 6:22, and I'll call on Diana to make a presentation.
Thank you, Sally. The Senate Bill 98 required all of our districts to replace the LCAP for the 2020-2021 school year with this learning continuity plan. And this plan is to provide information to the community on how we're offering remote learning and addressing the COVID-19 crisis. Specifically, there are 4 areas: gaps in learning and the needs of students with unique needs, access to necessary devices and connectivity for distance learning, resources and supports to address student and staff mental health and social emotional well-being, and school meals for students. So I've shared my screen and I'm going to go through the various components of the plan. So our general information indicates that when this plan was developed this summer in the fall, that we were still in we were still on the monitoring list in phase 1 remote learning. Now the state calls it we're in purple and we still are in remote learning, with the exception of submitting an elementary waiver, but that needs to be approved. And that's what we're going to discuss on next week on the 15th. So the first section is stakeholder engagement. And you'll recall throughout the summer, the school site principals met with staff to solicit input for our reopening plan and remote learning for 2020-21. The principals held parent meetings of both English and Spanish to secure feedback. The district leadership team met weekly to review the stakeholder feedback and discuss the reopening plan. And the district met 10 days, that 11 is, it's 10 days with the union leadership to discuss the reopening plan and remote learning. And then the board approved the reopening plan at the August 11th meeting, and it was posted on the website August 12th. We notified the community and provided a link to the Zoom board meetings when we held the hearing for the reopening plan. The next section is interesting because during our parent meetings, we received feedback specifically in these items, in that our parents requested in-person schooling, outdoor classrooms, intensified safety and cleaning protocols, regular COVID-19 testing for staff, technology devices, internet connectivity, daily school breakfasts and lunches, teletherapy counseling services, staff training in the safety protocols, school site plans for when a staff member or a student becomes ill, consultation with Santa Barbara County Health, more school nurses, preparation for school closures, regular homeschool communication, family options for remote learning, independent study, or homeschooling, and robust remote learning instruction to also include project-based lessons and arts education. They also requested daycare and after-school programs. Staff and union leadership provided specific input and feedback on these following areas: general safety conditions, goals for reopening, social distancing, PPEs, intensified cleaning protocols, remote learning schedules, COVID-19 testing for staff, the hybrid model with smaller cohorts, outdoor classrooms, custodial staff training on safety protocols, training on site plans for when staff or student become ill, remote learning professional development, stipends for professional development, software programs for remote learning, remote mental health services for students, resources for families, consultation with Santa Barbara County Public Health, considerations for partial or total school closure, tutoring, mentoring, and internet intervention services for ELL, special education students, and poor students. And these are the aspects of the plan that, that were included as a result of the specific stakeholder input. We provide daily breakfast, lunch when schools are closed. We've provided technology devices for all students and hotspots, and Cox Connect to Compete program is provided to students for connectivity. We have established remote learning schedules. We provided remote learning professional development as well as stipends for teachers. We have robust remote learning experiences for students, including project-based learning and arts education. We are offering tutoring, mentoring, reading, and math intervention programs. The hybrid model is being offered for elementary when the waiver is approved by Santa Barbara County Public Health. We've partnered with Girls Inc. and Boys and Girls Club for daycare programs, and United Way is offering 70 scholarships for our students at these both sites. We've partnership with Family Service Agency, Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse for school-based mental health therapists who are providing teletherapy for our students and families. We've partnered with the Carpentier Children's Project, and they're providing parent education and parent resources. We've hired, or we are in the process of hiring an additional school nurse. We've also hired an additional time from our gate teacher to provide direct instruction for elementary ELL students. And we also offer after-school support and tutoring through the expanded learning program. In the continuity of learning plan, the state is interested in how we're offering in-person instructional offerings. So we will begin targeted specialized support and services for special education and ELL students per the CDPH memo of 8/25, as soon as our testing is confirmed for the district. We've now put the testing in place, so we will now be moving towards bringing in small cohorts of special ed and ELL students for instruction. We also are submitting a waiver to open elementary schools in a hybrid model with in-person instruction. Now, the next area is what are we providing to support health and safety at the school sites for in-person instructional offerings. The first area is PPE, personal protective equipment. We have face coverings, masks, and also face shields to ensure that students and staff and family entering school sites and staff that are working or minimizing the spread of respiratory droplets while on campus. We have increased our supplies of soap and hand sanitizer. We have non-surgical gloves. We have specialized sanitizing equipment for custodial staff. And we also have shoe covers, goggles, safety glasses, and disposable aprons for the custodians. We have also, and we used $25,000 or $24,732 to buy the additional supplies. We bought additional thermometers to screen student temperature and staff to mitigate the potential spread of COVID. We have purchased visual cues that help direct traffic flow and minimize interactions between families and identify specific entry and exit points. We also have visuals that reinforce face covering and hand washing protocols, signage, postages, and floor decals to direct the traffic flow. We've purchased the Clorox 360 electrostatic mist disinfecting machines that sanitize desks, chairs, walls, windows, doors, and surfaces. We've purchased the Hilliard cleaning system for touch-free cleaning and sanitizing of all rooms, kitchens, and offices. And we also have purchased the Hilliard CC17 restroom sanitizing machines. For the outdoor classrooms, we are purchasing outdoor shade structures that will provide the outdoor classroom space that will include seating and portable PA systems. Another area is that if we are providing remote learning, what does it look like? Teachers are currently implementing the district adopted curriculum and grade level standards by way of Zoom and Google Classroom. Each student has a Chromebook or iPad, textbook supplies, and hands-on materials, and they have internet connectivity they're using either their home internet, Cox Connect 2 to Compete program, or a district provided hotspot. Our administrators, IT support staff, and counselors monitor daily the connectivity to ensure student participation and engagement. Parents have access to a bilingual tech hotline at each site for any technology troubleshooting. Our adopted elementary curriculum for ELA, it's Wonders and ReadyGen. They have online components, which are also used. And in addition, in the elementary math curriculum is Bridges, and the science curriculum is FOSS. They also have online units of study, as well as math intervention lessons. We've purchased additional software to support online student learning. We've purchased Lexia, Dreambox, Accelerated and Star Reading, ScoopPad, Newslia, Screencastify, and Edpuzzle. At the secondary levels, the district adopted curriculum in ELA, science, Spanish, math, and engineering, they all have online textbooks and instructional materials. The district also purchased additional technology tools to increase student engagement, Screencastify, Flipgrid, GimKit, Padlet, Peer Deck, and Adobe Spark. For access to devices and connectivity for all students, we purchased additional Chromebooks, 1,000 Chromebooks, 200 iPads, and 70 MacBooks to distribute to students in need of technology devices. We also purchased and distributed 110 hotspots to families who need internet connections. And we've partnered with the Santa Barbara County Office and Cox Cable to provide Cox internet access to families by way of the Cox Connect 2 Compete program. As I said before, administrators, IT support staff, and counselors, they monitor the daily connectivity to ensure the student participation. And we have a tech hotline at each site for technology troubleshooting. And then the area of pupil participation and progress, teachers take attendance daily based on student presence in the live Zoom meetings, in addition to completing their assignments by way of Google Classroom. And we measure participation by requiring both synchronous and asynchronous student engagement and completion. So for elementary students, they participate in live Zoom 8 to 10, 10:30 to 12, and 1 to 2:30 daily. And then on Wednesday, it's 8 to 10 and 10:30 to 12. CMS and CHS students participate in live Zoom 8:30 to 1, and then 2 to 3 daily. And then on Wednesday, 8:30 to 1. As I had indicated, teachers, administrators, and counselors monitor the daily attendance, and we contact anybody who's absent to determine why they're absent and what we need to ensure that they're engaged and students are participating. The other area of reporting is the distance learning professional development. We have provided synchronous and asynchronous online professional development led by our teacher leaders on topics such as Zoom, transitioning from in-person to remote learning, Edpuzzle, Google Classroom, rapid transition to distance learning, Flipgrid, and more. Our teachers receive stipends for leading or participating in the training, and they also receive stipends for participating and earning the level 2 Google certification. Our teachers also participate in professional development for remote learning that was offered through Santa Barbara County Education Office and Santa Barbara County SILPA. The district IT team provides ongoing tech troubleshooting and support on a daily basis. Teachers are using the online format of Zoom and Google Classroom along with a variety of tech tools to engage students. In addition, teachers are expected to participate in weekly Wednesday professional learning communities in grade level teams and departments to discuss effective instructional strategies and online tools to increase student engagement. Our expectation is there is a coherent, collaborative implementation to the instructional program from class to class and school to school by grade level and department. Classified instructional assistants also attend Zoom classes and support students in small groups. Office staff manage the device distribution, support parents with online registration, and also support parents in the use of our tools for students and parents. They manage student attendance reporting, order and distribute supplies, and support operations across the campuses. The transportation staff and security personnel are also utilized to distribute meals and supplies during school closure. For students with unique needs, the bilingual office staff and bilingual certificated and classified staff have reached out to English language learners and their families to support them to participate in distance learning. We employ 75 instructional assistants for special ed who join both general ed inclusion Zoom sessions and small group special education Zoom sessions to support and engage special ed students in instruction and socialization. As I said, an additional time for ELD has been hired to provide increased support for elementary English learners in weekly small group instruction. And our expanded learning program provides daily online academic support for students who are in foster care or are experiencing homelessness. We've also partnered with Girls Inc. and Boys and Girls Club to support high need students who needed daycare during the school closure. And these are the funds that we used for devices and connectivity. It was $609,000. Our collaboration time is already built in our schedule. Distance learning, professional development, those are the stipends, and participation in professional development conferences and workshops is $55,000. And the total cost for the teacher is $90,000, but we contributed $30,000 for the additional time. And the distance learning tools is $186,000 spent on the additional software. This is an area of how we're addressing our pupil learning loss. Our elementary teachers use initial assessments in reading and math by way of Zoom in one-to-one or small group settings. And we provide differentiated instruction based on those assessment results. And the differentiated instruction is facilitated by instructional assistants, classroom teachers, and reading intervention teachers. We formally assess at regular intervals in November, March, and May. And parents receive report cards at this time as well, reflecting that assessment data. We continue with our student study team meetings to review any student who's not making significant progress. And we create an intervention plan for those students. At the secondary levels, the administrators and counselors monitor the quarter and semester grades, and they assign students who are failing to intervention or tutoring programs. At the middle school, the expanded learning program provides the school tutoring, and at the high school, failing students are assigned to the CHS Student Success Center, where they received individualized support and tutoring. College tutors are also provided free after school for individual online tutoring for middle school and high school struggling students. And you heard mentioned that earlier in my superintendent's report that we've purchased the tutoring software paper that will assist high school students 24/7 with a live tutor in additional instruction and support in their content classes. Specific strategies for pupil learning loss. We have reading and math intervention certificated teachers who provide targeted interventions for small groups of struggling students. We also have instructional students who work with small groups of students who need the additional instructional support. At the elementary level, elementary teachers provide daily explicit ELD instruction for EL students. And as I indicated, we hired additional ELD teaching time to increase the ELD instruction at the upper elementary levels. The expanded learning program provides additional tutoring for foster and poor students. Special ed teachers and instructional assistants provide specialized instruction for students with exceptional needs. And at the middle and high schools, tutoring is provided for students who are struggling, and specialized instruction is offered for secondary students at the CHS Student Success Center. And then the next item are all the actions and the funding that's associated with it. The next area is mental health and social emotional well-being. We have implemented a multi-tier student support system for school-based mental health services, and we have school-based counseling consisting of marriage family therapists, school counselors, and school psychologists at each school site. The school site mental health team meets on a weekly basis to case manage students and families with mental health issues or concerns. We provide counseling services through teletherapy and home visits. We've also partnered with the Carpinteria Children's Project, the Family Resource Center, to provide support and resources to poor families. Elementary teachers provide daily lessons in social emotional learning by way of the second step curriculum. At the middle and high school, PBIS strategies are implemented to increase positive student behavior. And middle and high school students also receive social emotional learning through the AHA training in the core social emotional learning competencies. We also are pleased that AHA is offering monthly professional development to adults, to our staff, to address the social emotional learning competencies as well. The next item was pupil and family engagement and outreach. We do believe and support that attendance and engagement are required for academic success. A meaningful connection to caring adults, engaging subject matter and activities in a class are at the core of what our students need to learn and thrive in a school environment. And this is true regarding whether it's remote learning or in-person learning or hybrid model. We not only expect students to be present or logged in, we expect them to be engaged, interacting, thinking, and connecting. And that's the responsibility of the teacher as well as the counselors and administrators. As I indicated earlier, we monitor students' attendance and engagement. And for those students who are struggling with attendance and engagement, we have intervention, direct intervention through our administrators and our counselors. We monitor it through the regular Zoom class participation. We evaluate their completion and quality of their Google Classroom assignments, and the frequency of use of the various online tools, participation in online discussions and expanded learning, and any extra activities. We use multiple measures to determine whether students are engaged at the level needed to maximize their academic, social, and emotional progress. And we believe that it's a collective responsibility, teachers, administrators, counselors, and staff across the district, to share that responsibility to ensure the engagement of all students. And we make intentional efforts to contact every student and family that's not attending. And we are connecting them to resources, nutrition services, and the technology, and re-engaging them with the learning process. We've done home visits to those students and families who have not been able to, who are not participating. We send out communication in both English and Spanish using Parent Square. And the site administrators conduct weekly data reviews to address any identified students who are exhibiting attendance behavior or course performance that puts them at risk for falling behind. For nutrition services, we are continuing the drive-through curbside pickup process that ensures the social distancing. We use PPEs and we have clear signage at all the distribution points. When we move to a hybrid model, we will be providing the lunches and breakfasts and lunches at the school site, as well as we will continue the meals for curbside pickup. We also are partnering with the Food Bank of Santa Barbara, and we offer a distribution of food bags to our families who are picking up the lunches. The additional supplies and services needed to provide meals cost $323,000, and our mental health services $260,000. Our percentage that we are identifying for apportionment for foster youth English learners and low-income students is $3.1 million. And then for foster youth, English learners, and low-income students, there are areas that we have specifically identified to support these disaggregated groups of students in devices and connectivity. We've made sure that access is applied throughout the whole district, but it is we're carefully monitoring low-income students who do not have full access at home. So we've purchased the computers, we've purchased the hotspots, or we've connected them to the county office so they can receive the Cox to Connect program. For nutrition, we provide breakfast and lunch every day for families. And then teacher collaboration time is for staff to engage in reviewing their student assessment data, student work, and plan instruction that meets the needs of all students, but specifically focused on those students who struggle, English learners, foster youth, homeless youth, and students with disabilities. We also have provided the expanded learning program that focuses on the highest students with the highest needs. Our counselors reach out to homes where students frequently have higher needs for counseling support through distance learning. And then I indicated earlier that we've expanded the gate teachers' time to provide services to include EL students. So that concludes all the components of the continuity plan and our responses. Would you have any questions in a particular area that I can focus on for you?
So I just want to repeat, I'm going to open a public hearing at 6:43. Are there any questions from the board or public that are on the Zoom meeting?
Yes. Yes, I do. How do you handle, or how will the district handle expulsions, student expulsions?
I'm sorry, what section of the continuity plan?
Oh, talking about students in general, middle school, high school students, about when they don't behave. When before it was, there was an expulsion, they would be sent to the Rincon High School, or middle school students, the parents were supposed to stay with them to take care of the expulsion. Now, when this is through Zoom, if you have students misbehaving during any Zoom class, what's the procedure? What are they doing, or what a teacher can do, or what are they doing?
Well, the good news is that for the most part, students are with family members at home on Zoom, and the reports are that our students are behaving appropriately. And for any student who has forgotten what the rules are, the teachers are reminding them what the rules are for being on Zoom. And the principals and the teachers report, for the most part, students are pretty well behaved on the Zoom, during the Zoom time.
Okay, and also have the question about this the dual language immersion program. Students who
Rogelio, we're asking questions really in reference to what Diana just presented.
well, she mentioned DLI, correct?
No, I mentioned English learners, but I'm happy to.
It's the same. It's the same.
How can I help you, Rogelio? What is on your mind?
Basically, it's the same. English learners, they're okay. So, how have they been affected by this pandemic on their daily knowledge of English? Has that progress been stopped, let's say 50%, or you tell me?
Well, right now we're conducting the assessments, So we will have a better view of what the percentage of learning loss is for the languages once we complete our assessments. So we're in the second week of school. So we are, or the third week now, and we are collecting all those assessments. With regards to DLI, that is why many of the parents are very interested in the hybrid model. So they want their students to return to school so they actually can be in class and participating more of the time in the dual language, in Spanish.
Because I would say that some progress has been lost because progress has been lost on English and science, basically on every subject, and on a language. I think it's even more on a language when they're trying to learn a new language that affects you more. You tend to forget, I think, more than the other subjects.
Yes, we would agree, and I think everyone agrees that that there is learning loss with the remote learning, which is why we're anxious to be able to return to school, in-person instruction, as long as it's safe and safe and healthy. So yes, that's why we're interested in the hybrid model and the elementary waiver that we'll discuss next week.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I just had one comment. Just to bring up what Jamie Dimon brought up earlier about the special ed and how we're going to deal with that. I didn't notice there was a lot of special ed in this plan, Diana.
Well, I think the most important statement is this one. And I will just tell you what our plan is that Jamie's exactly right. We are interested in bringing special ed students in a small cohort back to school. I think she was particularly, I'm not sure, but it sounds like the middle school and high school is what she was focusing on. We needed, before we could do that, we needed to get our COVID-19 testing in place because that's a requirement to bring the small cohorts back to school. So we have been focusing on the elementary waiver. Once we have that in place and it's approved, then we'll move ahead and start bringing our small cohorts at the secondary level back to the campus as well. So our goal is to have the elementary students in a hybrid model back on campus, and that includes the special ed students, in which the special ed students in the special day class will be on campus 4 days a week because they're already their small cohort. And then once that's in place, then we will be focusing on the middle school and high school and the small cohorts to bring back those special ed students and EL students in small groups.
Great. Thank you.
Any further questions? Then I would like to close the public hearing at 6:49. So we'll move on to G4, the contract with MRSA Labs for COVID-19 staff testing per CDPH order July 17th, 2020. And Maureen's going to explain this. She's muted.
I muted
Maureen?
myself because I had to sneeze.
Yes.
So then I couldn't unmute me. So we're contracting with MRSA Labs. This is the same lab that's being used by 3 other districts in the county and possibly more. They will come to our district to do the testing, and we will do the testing here at the district office. The way they schedule it one at a time so that one comes in and out before the other is even arriving to come in. They space them. It doesn't take that long, 10 or so minutes apart. So we will be testing 25% of our staff every 2 weeks, so that over a 2-month period, everyone has been tested, and then we repeat every 2 months. It will be a 72-hour turnaround for the lab results. The results go straight to public health. We will also get notified if we have any positive tests. And the cost is $125 per test. They will bill each individual's health insurance, and in the event that that is not covered, then we will pay for the test through the learning loss mitigation funds. And we will begin scheduling the actual test date and the first cohort to be tested tomorrow to hopefully come in next week.
Thank you, Maureen. May I have a motion to approve this contract with Mercer Labs?
To approve?
Second.
Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to G5, the purchase of paper online tutoring from Paper Education Company. This is, I think Diana referred to this before. It's a chat-based tutoring service that provides online tutoring for high school students. May I have a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
Move to second.
Any questions?
I'd just like to comment that I had a chance to go online and see their presentation and read some of the testimony, how they go about developing their staff and the actual tutors, and it actually looks like a fantastic application for us. I mean, it almost sounds too good to be true. It's so comprehensive. So I'm really looking forward to it being another tool for our students and staff to utilize.
Thank you. Agreed. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, moving on to G6. This is a contract with URM Technologies to image personnel and payroll files to the cloud. This sounds fascinating. Is there a motion to approve this?
To approve.
Move to second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. And moving on to G7.
Uh-oh.
We lost you.
Sally.
Ali, we lost you.
Sally?
We were doing so good.
Did I get one?
We missed you.
We
Oh,
missed.
sorry.
Oh.
Oh, so we're on G7, the GAN limit calculation and resolution 2873, adopting the GAN limit.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
any questions? Jamie, this is a roll call.
Rogelio,
Aye.
Sally,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
and I am aye.
Thank you. And moving on to G8, the 2019-2020 unaudited actuals and the 2020-21 revised budget. And Maureen will make this presentation.
So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, oops. Okay, so this is, we've closed our books. We are done. We're gonna go over how we ended the year, and we'll compare it to how we thought we would end the year when we adopted our budget at the end of June. And then we'll go over our budget revisions that we know to be for the 2021 budget. Although the 2021 will probably have further revisions when we bring it in December for first interim. So I'm going to start with the revenue, and this is all unrestricted revenue. We're not going to go over the restricted side because that has to self-balance. So the unrestricted revenue, you can see in the box below, changed by all four categories. Our property tax went up $115,511. You can see though that the actual property tax calculation or collection for our secured, unsecured estimates went down 38, and the one-time prior year adjustments went up 153. Those prior year adjustments have gone everywhere from up 150 or more thousand and down 200,000. And that is adjustments to punishments, impounds, assessments, things that got delayed in litigation. You never know what that is until the year end. Federal revenues went up 12,000. That's for MAW, the Medicare Administration activities. Those are purely, we don't budget that per se because those are purely reimbursements, and that's kind of at the mercy of the federal government. They are still currently reimbursing for the third quarter of 2018-19. That's how far behind they are. State revenue went up only $7,891, and you can see all the different categories. Lottery went up. We had the mandated block final allocation, prior year assessment, and those are testing revenues that come in that's based on only certain tests.
Lorraine, we're losing you. Can't hear you.
Closer. I don't think there's anything I can do. My volume's all the way up. I'll talk louder.
Well, it goes in and out, Maureen. Like I think your microphone must be on the fritz.
Okay then.
That's better.
Is that better?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Better.
So state revenue changed by 7,800. The local revenue went up 84,000. And please tell me if you can't hear me.
No, you're good.
So the majority of the revenue that goes through local revenue are our lease payments for the properties on Baylor, but we also have a lot of pass-through that comes in for workers' comp, stale dated checks, interest, and that varies year to year. But this is also where we had booked original monies coming in from, and this is going to go back. Remember, before the pandemic, we had a ransomware attack. We had hoped to get about 130,000 from the insurance company, and we only got 30. So we lost that revenue, but then we gained some workers' comp refund revenue. So our local revenue went up 84,000 for a total increase of revenue of $219,694. On the expenditure side, we had total adjustments to our final salary and benefits of savings of $36,000, or excuse me, our salary and benefit expenditures went down 36,621, and that usually happens when a vacancy never got filled or only got filled for the last part of the year since the last time we projected. Supplies and materials, it was only adjusted by a total of $1,305. Indirect costs based on categorical closes, so that the expenditures went down $27,732. Now that seems really, really good from estimated actual. Like, dang, that's pretty close. For me, that gets a little bit nervous because in my estimated actuals, I did a very, very, very thorough sweep to say, how are we going to end the year? Because remember, at that time, we had no knowledge we'd get any other funding to help us with COVID costs. So it was penny pinching. The transfers in and out, 28,943 came from Measure U for the teacher move. So the stipends that paid teachers came out of general fund. Measure U backfilled it by doing transfers. Oh my God, I can't get any closer. I'm already at the desk. Sorry. The transfers out is where you're going to see the change from what was going to get transferred to the cafeteria fund for the deficit. This is, Rogelio, what you were asking about. That
Yes.
moved to the category, the restricted side out of the learning loss mitigation money. They paid for that. So it relieved the general fund from that expense. And then we received some additional special ed money, and that was all through redistribution and some new money that came into special education. And then we had to increase the contribution to the restricted maintenance account because our expenses ran higher. So the total increase to our fund balance, transfers in and out, was $467,000. When you put that all together, all unrestricted only, and you go down to the arrow that says change in fund balance, we increased our fund balance by $715,146. So we anticipated we would have 1.1 million, we have 1.857 million. Big difference. And it was really based on like 4 or 5 big items. When you break it down to restricted and unrestricted, you see kind of how the restricted side played out. There is no learning loss mitigation money in this restricted budget. And you can see, well, I'll take that back. There is the contribution. So the expenses are here for the learning loss mitigation funds, but there is no revenue, and that's an accounting issue. You can see on the restricted side that $267,000. That's where the contribution to cafeteria came from, not on the unrestricted. So you can see there where it got shifted. So our total general fund ended the year with $2 million. So on the 2021 budget, very few things changed. We restored the state aid reduction. So if you recall, when we adopted the budget, it was really unclear what kind of a hit we were going to take based on our apportionment. This is the piece that we get from the state. The governor had not adopted the budget, and it wasn't until after we adopted ours that the final state budget was finalized. So we restored that cut of $120,501. We finalized some staffing placements for an additional cost of $13,000, and you can see in the benefits, it was mainly in the assignment of benefits to a position where someone reelected back into a benefit. And then down in the other sources and uses adjustment box, you can see the transfer was moved from the general fund to the unrestricted to the learning loss mitigation fund of $245,000. So again, what you're seeing in the budget here is unrestricted. It was in the budget adoption. It's not in the revised budget. One thing that the governor did not give us, which I was hoping he would, was additional flexibility or continued flexibility on the restricted routine maintenance account, which does require 3% of the general fund to be transferred in, and we've had flexibility over the past several years not to do a full 3%. So now we are increasing the contribution to have a full 3%. So the total adjustments were $62,039. Excuse me. So our total change to fund balance was an increase of $168,874. So both in the unaudited actuals and in the budget year, we increased our fund balance. This is how it plays out, restricted and unrestricted. The restricted budget does include the learning loss mitigation funds, which is about $2.2 million. And that's where you can see the federal revenues aren't ever really $2.2 million. So it's all built in here, revenue and expense equal. And you can see the transfers out of $423,304 on the restricted side. 100 of that goes into deferred maintenance, and the rest is going into the cafeteria program for anticipated deficit. So I created a slide because this has been one of the most confusing things to have to figure out, and that's the learning loss mitigation funds. It's easy to say learning loss mitigation funds, but that is comprised of 6 different pots of money coming from all different places. We have the CARES Act, which covers the elementary school portion of ESSR. We have the CARES Act that covers the governor's portion of ESSR, which he apportioned to schools. We have the Coronavirus Relief Fund, and then we have SB 117 through the state. All of those monies they're calling learning loss mitigation funds. These are the amounts that each bucket is funding, so it's a total of $2.2 million. On the far right of this grid is when they have to be spent by. Now the bottom three, it's 12/31 of 2020. SB 820 was passed by the legislature August 31st, and I have not received word it's been signed by the governor. I anticipate that any day it will be, and that does expand that deadline to September 30th of 2022 for all federal funds, and to June 30th of 21 for all state money. It will also allow us to use the money to provide the contribution to the food program as needed, which I built in already, which would leave the general fund from that huge contribution. This is just an ongoing year-to-year look at how we closed our books, and it's really significant to look at 1920 when we had an increase of revenue of 2.2% and a decrease in overall expenditures by 3.2, almost 3.26. Some of that is because we were not open for 3.5 months, almost 4 full months. And some of that was due to the fact that we froze spending and we didn't fill positions. And so some of this is a one-time reduction. However, that's how we are able to sustain our fund balance. And in the multi-year, we are required to show that the current and 2 subsequent years are positive above 3%, 3% or higher. So our 1920 year, we ended at a 5.76, 2021, 5.78, 21-22, 5.64, and 22-23, 7.14. So all of our years are 5% or higher, just under 6%. And that's what we know today. 1920 is a given. The rest are all still assumptions. One thing we do not know, and I won't know for about another month, is what our 2021 property tax estimate will be. We don't get that until sometime in the second week of October. And that will be reflected at the first interim when we come back to you for the budget in December. And other than that, I don't think there'll be very many other changes to our budget other than the learning loss mitigation money allocation. Any questions? It looks better than it did when we presented at the end of June.
I'd just like to congratulate you on how accurate, whether by chance or by skill.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've got to say,
When I do that.
well, no, I've got to, everybody who's listening to this and everybody who benefit from accounting that you do I mean, this is outstanding. This is top notch. You're not going to find a better presentation or a more accurate representation of our actual numbers anywhere. And so I think we should all be really thankful that we have someone of your caliber helping us out here.
Thank you, Marie, because probably, when was it, like 3 or 4 months ago, that I asked, well, what's the future of any additional funding, state or federal funding? And the response that I got was slim, none, because everything looked bad everywhere. Everywhere. That's why the budget was, for the first time, the budget was not accurate, was not clear, because if we will have this money, if we have this additional fund and other funds, but as of today, that was 4 months ago or so, there's nothing. So that's why the district has no money and the reserves are so bad. So I'm glad that things are changing. Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve the unaudited actuals in the revised budget?
So
Move to
moved.
approve. Second.
Are there any further questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And none opposed. Thank you very much, Maureen. That was very thorough and it makes it much easier to understand. Moving on to H, Measure U. H1 is the acceptance of the completed contract campus modernization phase 3 with McGillivray Construction Company at Canalino. May I have a motion to approve this acceptance of the contract?
Move to approve. Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm aye. Thank you. H2, the contract with Sue Harrison to supervise the move at Carpinteria High School. May I have a motion to approve her contract?
Move
So
to
moved.
approve.
Second.
I got a second. Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
In personnel, I, memorandum of understanding between the Carpinteria Unified School District and the California Association of United School Employees 2020-2021 remote learning model of a COVID-19 environment, in a COVID-19 environment. The board is asked to approve this MOU between CUSD and CAUSE regarding instruction in remote learning model. The MOU expires on June 30th, 2021, but may be extended by mutual written agreement. Upon expiration of this MOU and/or schools are reopened in a pre-COVID-19 traditional model, all terms and conditions in the collective bargaining agreements with certified and classified unit members shall be returned to the 2019-2020 status prior to the inaction of this agreement unless otherwise agreed by the parties. This is a non-precedent setting agreement. May I have a motion to approve?
Oh, excuse me, Sally. Deanna is going to
Oh, I'm sorry,
make
Deanna.
a few statements about this. Thank you.
No worries. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to add a few comments that we did meet with the union on 10 separate occasions and had many beneficial discussions about a number of details that we would need to look at. You know, we're traveling in uncharted territory, all of us, on many new things. And so we did reach agreement with the union. And had some great conversations. And this was, the agreement was for remote learning only. So we will be going back to discuss the effects of coming back in person soon, hopefully.
So this is just let's say that this is all about remote learning, correct?
Yes, correct, Rogelio.
Okay. Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve this agreement, this MOU?
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And I2 is the personnel summary. May I have a motion to approve the personnel summary?
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And J, board announcements. Anybody have something about visiting a school, which you can't do, appreciating a staff, or any other positive comments that you have experienced in the last 2 weeks?
Well, I'd just like to make a comment of you, all of your service to the community, and let everyone know that they don't need to attend, but they should come out and support the Copacabana and there's some really good offerings that the board is putting forth there. So, but I'd just like to acknowledge you, Sally, and thank you for all you do for Carpinteria. We're really lucky to have you.
Thank you very much, Andy. I do appreciate that. Anyone else?
Yes. Yes. Have a comment?
Go ahead, Rogelio.
Did I lose the sound?
Rogelio, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I'll
Last check that will
I'll
go.
speak. Yes, I'll speak in Spanish and then I'll translate. It's very easy.
Can I finish what I'm saying?
What was that?
Let me finish what I was saying.
Oh,
Excuse me, I told Rogelio to go ahead, Sally.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go
Okay.
ahead. Go ahead, Rogelio.
Estudiantes del Distrito Escolar de Carpintería, por favor, estudien duro para llegar a cumplir su sueño académico. La pandemia va a desaparecer, no siempre va a estar presente con nosotros. Si quieren ser un doctor, si quieren ser un abogado, un psicólogo, un sociólogo, luchen por ese sueño y lógrenlo. Y regresen a saludarnos a sus maestros, a la superintendente, a la mesa ejecutiva. Si son hispanos, si son estudiantes hispanos, que nada ni nadie los detenga y vayan al Colegio de Santa Bárbara, vayan a la Universidad de Santa Bárbara, vayan a la Universidad de California en Los Ángeles, vayan a Harvard, vayan a Stanford. Ustedes siempre serán unos guerreros. Carpinteria student districts, please study hard to fulfill your dream. The pandemic will not last forever. And if you want to be a doctor, an attorney, a psychologist, a sociologist, fulfill your dream and come back to us, say hi to us, to your teachers, to the superintendent, to board members. And if you're a Hispanic student, let nothing stop you and go to City College, go to UCSB, go to UCLA, go to Harvard, go to Stanford. You will always be a warriors. Go Warriors. Thank you.
Any other comments? I'll just kind of repeat that. Am I muted again? Am I stuck again?
Here, Sally.
We can hear you.
That I went to Westerly Orchids this afternoon and they presented the Carpinteria Education Foundation with a check for $23,000 plus, which will go to technology and additional assistance for students in Carpinteria who are having issues. And this money was raised by sales that they had prior to Labor Day. And they, Candy and Tuan Overgog were definitely amazed that in less than 5 days, they collected that much money. So I think we should all thank them for additional monies that are coming to the school district.
That
Very
is
exciting.
amazing.
Yeah, very amazing.
I just want to say that it's so important. Our communities of Summerlin and Carpinteria are so giving and caring, and they are so eager to have these schools reopen. And I think that it's across the board that we need to rely on them to help us in any way that they can. So Diana, anything you need, let the community know. And I think that we're all very eager to support and get back to school.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. Is there anything for the board calendar, Monica?
Well, I'd just like to remind everyone about the just approved special board meeting this coming Tuesday, September 15 at 5:30.
Thank you.
Be there.
Any future agenda items? May I have a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
moved.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
You guys.
Night.
Good
Thank you for
night.
attending.
Good night. Thank you.